So I asked you guys on Twitter over the weekend who you guys preferred over Joyner Lucas and Logic. And the reason I asked the question was because, of course, I found myself leaning more toward Logic. But I thought it would be a little bit less one-sided than it was, which is what triggered the question in the first place. And I had a bunch of longtime subscribers, a couple of my subscribers that always had their issues with him. And if they did like Logic, they were kind of on the iffy side. You know, Fantano likes Logic more. So I was just a little surprised. Now, of course, there was a discussion in the comments of that post. Obviously, it's not going to be, extremely, oh, well, Logic's just better, and then that's the way it is. Obviously, there would be some kind of debate, some kind of back and forth, and there would be some people in Joyner's defense, but I didn't think it would, like I said, I didn't think it would be that one-sided. So in this video, I kind of want to just talk about the differences between Joyner Lucas and Logic and why I feel someone would dislike Joyner, since the consensus based off my Twitter poll is such in favor of Logic, and what makes Logic so much better than Joyner Lucas, because I don't think that Logic is leagues ahead of Joyner Lucas when it comes to rapping. I don't think Logic is leagues ahead of Joyner Lucas when it comes to delivering conceptual subject matter. So let me start with some of the discrepancies I have with Joyner, and then I'll get to some of the discrepancies I have with Logic. For all who don't know, Joyner has been remixing the songs that he claims he likes the most. He's remixed Kendrick's DNA, Future's Mask Off, 21 Savage's Bank Account, Lil Pump's Gucci Gang, and just recently he remixed Drake and Block Boy, I forgot his name again. He remixed their track Look Alive. Joyner's motivation or purpose in doing so, based off of his Gucci Gang remix, was to say that he's essentially remixing these songs because maybe the rapper who's rapping over them initially isn't doing the beat justice, and he's kind of remixing it because he wants to either gain more popularity from it. I mean, it makes sense. It's a smart business move. More people know your name based off the algorithm. They might like Gucci Gang, they might like Look Alive. They'll see a Joyner Lucas remix suggested, so maybe they'll go back to it. It's something like that. He's playing with the system. I think it's a smart move. The worst part about these freestyles, despite how many people are in favor of Joyner kind of being the anti-rapper, and I've said this before, anti-rapping being a person who exists within a genre, within the rap genre, that intentionally goes against everything that most people who dislike rap don't like. So the drugs, the money, the women, none of that is really mentioned in Joyner's music. It is from time to time, but not often. So his skill aside, I feel like he's somewhat developed a fan base from the aspects of rap that people who don't necessarily live with it dislike. That being the case, my main issue with Joyner and these remixed songs is I feel like he's trying to force them to exist in a space they weren't originally intended for. We can all agree Gucci Gang, Mask Off, Look Alive, Bank Account, they weren't songs that were made to exist within a lyrical atmosphere. They weren't songs that were made to appeal to a hip-hop head. They weren't songs that were made to be dissected. They were just songs that were made because the beat was knocking, the flow from whatever rapper was on each song was good enough to call it an entertaining track. No one was really looking at these tracks like, I want to pay attention to it. I just enjoy the beat. The subject matter is simple, and we can all vibe out to it. That's why people like these songs so much, in my opinion. Even Look Alive with Drake was a cool track, and I enjoyed what he was saying, but his bars weren't anything heavy in that track. His flow, his charisma while he was over the track is what made it so enjoyable. Even Joyner Lucas can't avoid using Drake's flow for the hook on this track or on this remix. Alright, so that's part number one of this. Joyner Lucas also has a problem with Logic because he believes that Logic stole his idea, or Logic's manager stole his idea for the suicide prevention song. Joyner has a track called I'm Sorry that discussed those same details, and I guess his beef with Logic is because he thinks that Logic took his idea, basically. Already I can see from this line of thinking that it leads to a very preemptive action. You don't actually know the full scope of the situation. You feel a way, you're letting your emotions decide or have the first judgment call. So all of a sudden this means that you are justified in dissing another rapper now because of something you think happened. You don't even have any proof of it. That's what he believes, so he's been dissing Logic. Even in the Look Alive track, his opening lines, which aren't very subtle at all, 44 shots traumatized in front of 45, hit 44 more. Carbon copies say you kamikaze, that's for everybody. Everybody is Logic's most recent album. 44 More is Logic's most recent song, calling him a carbon copy. It's not difficult to figure out who he's throwing shots at. And I guess the question to a lot of Logic's fan base would be, why? Because they grow up with Logic, they look at Logic from a certain perspective, a certain lens, so they can't really understand why a rapper who preaches about love, peace, and positivity would be disliked in the industry by another rapper. They probably wouldn't understand that. To the Logic fan base, I want to tell you, peace, love, and positivity is a beautiful thing, and I'm not doubting that Logic really believes that, but it's also a marketing tool. You can also get really, really far in a lot of places playing off the whole peace, love, and positivity thing. All right, let's not act like you can't. Again, I don't doubt that Logic wants peace, love, and positivity, but it can be used as a marketing tool. If we transition over to Logic for a second, I guess I was surprised at everyone's reaction to Logic because I don't think Logic rapping wise is that far ahead of Joyner Lucas. Musically, I can understand. He makes much more enjoyable music in my opinion. Joyner doesn't have that same, I don't feel like Joyner has developed a solid song structure for his music to be anywhere near the top of the charts. I mean, of course he's a lyricist. He values rapping. I think Joyner believes that if 1-800 wouldn't have come out, then I'm Sorry would have popped. And I don't think that's the reason why I'm Sorry didn't pop. The reason Joyner Lucas's music, in my opinion, doesn't pop or doesn't even go mainstream is because it's not pleasing. It's not great. The music isn't great. I can respect him as a rapper as much as I want. And the reason I say Joyner Lucas isn't as enjoyable as a lot of the music that Logic may have put out is because Joyner Lucas, for the most part, sucks a lot of the life out of what the track was intended for. I'm not denying that Joyner Lucas is a good rapper, but sometimes you don't go to a track because you want to hear lyrics or lyricism. When you remix a track, most people, when they hear it, before going into it, assume that you're going to be offering something that the original song itself didn't have. You're going to be adding something, but keeping the same value and the same likability that the track originally had. Joyner Lucas kind of strips away that fun layer and adds his own, I guess what some people may even consider pretentious values onto the track. There are a lot of rappers that think because they don't rap about drugs or money or hoes that, that makes them instantly better than any other rapper out there. And that can also be said for Joyner Lucas's music. There's no fun. It's so serious. And when you look at it, Joyner Lucas is only in his late 20s. I don't think Joyner Lucas is that old. There's nothing crazy going on with his production, his instrumentals, and all that good stuff. I would like to categorize rappers within like a certain group. And what I would categorize them as is liberal rappers, progressive rappers, and conservative rappers. And Joyner Lucas, in my opinion, definitely falls into the conservative category, whereas people like Lil Yachty, Lil Pump, who else am I thinking of? Throw another Lil in there. And those are part of the progressive group, in my opinion, while I feel people like Logic, who do still maintain their lyricism, are a little bit more on the liberal side because their subject matter, they rap about things that most people don't really talk about for the most part, like to some degree rapping about gay people, to some degree rapping about depression and anxiety and about being biracial. Brockhampton could easily fall into that liberal group. And I know some of you may be confused and thinking, well, wouldn't that make Brockhampton a progressive group too? Not necessarily. I mean progressing hip-hop, progressing the way we listen to hip-hop music, accepting these other forms of rap when it comes to mumbling, when it comes to not articulating yourself, when it comes to just making music just for the sake of making music or just for the sake of making a hit, valuing beats more than lyrics, production being the highlight of a song. I feel like that's what's progressing in rap to me. Meanwhile, I think groups like Brockhampton are unique. They just aren't new to me. I say they're liberal because they're exposing, people to more ideas, more different demographics of the rap culture. In a similar way, we saw a whole bunch of new demographics come out after Odd Future. So when I go to Logic, right, and I look at what he's released, I think here's a guy that, of course, is protected or shielded by the thought process of peace, love, and positivity. That's the fan base excuse for anything that he's going to come out with. He can't be attacked because he's all about peace, love, and positivity, guys. Now, while I do prefer Logic over Joyner Lucas, my biggest issue with Logic is his lack of consistency. Logic had an amazing album, in my opinion, that came out back in 2014 called Under Pressure. Of course, he's had some great mixtapes, but for a first studio album, I thought his initial release was very good. After that, we get Tits, a less interesting, more commercial, less Logic project. A project, in my opinion, where Logic just put on his best impression of every other artist that was already out there from the past and in the present. Then we got Bobby Tarantino, which was a pretty fun mixtape. Not on par with his previous work, in my opinion, but just again showing a bit of a lack of consistency. Then we get Everybody, which again shows a lack of consistency. Then we get 44 More, right? But my biggest example of this would be within the last week. 44 More was probably one of Logic's best tracks easily one of Logic's best tracks. The amount of flows he explores, trap beat in the background, his subject matter is pretty cool, he's kind of comical, very confident, seems to have his own identity. Then the next week releases a track called Every Day, which is easily one of Logic's worst tracks in my opinion. And while people can say that this can slide under the lens as just one of those tracks that Logic's trying something different, he's just relaxing, he's not turning up, that doesn't prevent the track from being a pop wannabe, a try-hard song where Logic literally goes against the shit he released last week. The track was boring. It was boring. While I can appreciate Logic for trying to sing and all that cool stuff, Logic completely dumbs himself down to make music like this. And for no payoff. Because this song isn't gonna chart. It's not gonna stream as well as 44 More. It's not gonna do as much as that song did. So I'm thinking, why release it? And then I look at Logic and I'm like, this guy might think this song is actually good, which proves to me Logic has a lack of consistency. And if Logic releases this next album, even if it is an amazing album, even if it's Logic's greatest work, he's only gonna have that one classic. Logic will never be one of the greatest rappers of all time because he has a lack of consistency. You look at MF Doom and his discography, people can say he's one of the GOATs because he has a strong streak of consistency. People can say the same thing about Kendrick Lamar, although I think it's a little bit too early when there are so many other rappers like Rakim, Nas, and Andre 3000. These are all artists that have been revered as the greatest of all time in that top spot, in that top lane because of their consistency. Even with all that being said, I still prefer Logic. Joyner, while consistent, to me, is consistent in a lane that isn't that interesting, isn't that intriguing, isn't that grabbing. While I can't agree with a lot of people that most likely will say I'm Not Racist sparked more of a discussion in one Joyner song than Logic has in his entire career, I can agree with that. Logic will have to lie to us all for me to think that he may end up being one of the greatest rappers of all time, because he'd need at least 2 to 3 years of consistency for me to call him one of the greats. While Joyner is a good rapper, I think his comments, even his disses towards Logic, just make him look bitter. Having zero proof of something and then accusing someone of it just by your speculation makes you come off bitter. It makes you come off as an ill-informed individual who wants to start an issue with someone. I get he may have had an issue with Logic in regards to the SRIRACHA track, but that was a Tech 9 track. Even if you got respect for him, that's not something to sit down and hold a grudge over. And while I do like Joyner for his rapping ability, let's say Joyner was right. Okay, let's say Joyner was correct and Logic completely ripped him off. He completely stole the idea. If he were right, I could see Joyner staying away from Logic. I could see him not wanting to go near it. But it's as if Joyner made it seem like that was his ticket to the industry, or that was his ticket to success or something like that. Out of all the tracks you could be upset with a rapper for, I guess, using the idea of, if this were true, why would it be for the prevention of suicide? Why would you be upset if someone did take your idea for that? Even though I know they know it's gonna sell. It just makes me think you are thinking more about you than you are about the audience you're making the music for. And I guess that would be my biggest issue with Joyner Lucas, is that with his music, with his rapping, he seems very self-centered. He doesn't really seem to consider many other people. His music, while not one-dimensional, sounds very similar. He doesn't go out of his way to change his style. While he is working on a collab tape with Chris Brown, you listen to the guy rapping, nothing's really changing. While I can actually give Logic credit for paying attention to what his fan base seems to enjoy. And although I think he's been corny at some points in his career, Logic, I can always give him respect for never dissing another rapper. He never needed to do that. He never wanted to. Throughout his entire career, I've never heard him mention another rapper's name in a negative light. Some people are gonna say, oh, well, you need that kind of thing in hip hop. You know, we're not gonna be anywhere if we're not in a competition. If you can't make a good song without dissing someone, then you need to go to the mosh pit. All right, become a wrestler, because you're not gonna have a beef every other week. I don't know. Get in the comment box. Let me know what you guys think about it. Who's better, Logic or Joyner Lucas? Whose songs do you enjoy more? And just let me know, get in the comment box, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. It's been Shawn C, and I'm out. Peace.